Good morning, everyone. We are going to go ahead and get started. It is such an honor and a privilege to be with you guys on today. I am excited as always. This is an event that I look forward to doing. There's a lot I do in a week, but this is the one thing I'm like excited about. So I'm gonna adjust the lighting so you guys can have a good visual. And we are getting ready to get started. Welcome to Ask the Expert. This meeting is being recorded and is also streaming live via YouTube. So if you have someone that doesn't know quite yet how to work Zoom, don't worry. I'm sure everybody is familiar with YouTube. So you can send them over to YouTube and they will find us if they go to AK Legacy Foundation on the YouTube channel. We ask that you all like, share, subscribe to our YouTube channel. All proceeds that we earn there goes to support the youth and our foundation. And what we do with the youth, we help them start businesses, or those that already have a business, we assist them with making it better. So we have an exciting show for you guys on today. And I know some people say, well, you say that every week. Well, every week it's just even more excitement. Every week it's just better and better. You know, we serve a great God, and He'll start us off with something small and it gradually grows as we increase. He increases our capacity. And so I'm excited. I'm thankful for our guest panelists. I am so ready to hear from them. Haven't talked to them in a while. So this is going to be exciting. We've been communicating via email, and it is such an honor when people genuinely respond. You know, some people see your email and they block you, but it's a great thing when you've made connections over the years and people um, they honor your request. And so I'm thankful that they took time out of their busy schedule. I could only imagine. You know, it's just this day and time being in business, being in ministry, dealing with COVID, dealing with the pandemic, dealing with social unrest, dealing with your business, trying to keep it afloat and don't factor in children on top of that, spouses, friends, loved ones, you know, your community, all of that on one person. And so Ms. Faith Dickens is going to give us some tips and some tools on how to deal with all of that. You know, a lot of times we put on our cape and we're invincible, can't nobody stop us. You know, we are the superheroes, but hopefully she's going to give, I know she's going to give us some information that will help us through this time. Then we're going to also hear from Miss Adame McConduit. She is going to tell us about real estate. I love real estate. It is the one thing you can't get more of. We have the land that we have. And to quote our president, it is what it is, you know. So we ain't gonna get, we're not gonna get any more land. So she's gonna talk to us today about acquiring some land, real estate sales. If you want to sell some land, or she's gonna kind of give us some advice, especially during this time. A lot of people say, "Well, we're in a recession." No, not necessarily. Every time that I go out, I was just telling my husband, we passed by the mall, and I said, "They're steady building." I'm like, "What are they building now?" You know, building after building. People are buying homes. You see the sold signs in the yard. People are posting on Facebook, "Hey, I just closed on my new home," and so there's something there. And so Idame is going to come and give us some information about that. So this is Ask the Expert. This is a part of the AK Legacy Foundation, which is a nonprofit organization. We are registered 5013C, and in that organization, we do three primary things. We help women that are in business, we help children that are in business, and we help anyone else that would like to start a business or financial literacy. That is the core component, and we do that by ways of contributions and donations from our community, our friends, our co-workers, our business partners. So keep in mind, if you're seeking a charity to donate to, consider the AK Legacy Foundation. You will receive a tax donation slip at the end of the year. So if you're looking to save on your taxes, or if you want to do good in your community, you have a service that you want to offer, you have a financial literacy component that you would like to teach to us, please let us know. We're always wanting new, fresh ideas. We always want to revisit the things that have always worked. 1 plus 1 is still 2. So if you have a spin on how to get to that, please come on and teach us about it. We do not want to be ignorant. We do not want to be closed-minded. Please share with us. There's the website on the screen, aklegacyfoundation.org. You can find everything that you need to know about us, and you can always call me, email me. One thing I do want to point out, we have an upcoming youth business summit. And so if you have a young person that is, they need to get inspired or they have a business, please enroll them. It is no cost for the youth to enroll. So we are excited about that. So let's go ahead and get started with our webcast on today. If you're new to the webcast and you've never tuned in the way that we normally do it here, I'll ask a mystery question. We break the ice, and then from there, I will introduce our panelists one by one. I'll read their bio, kind of talk a little bit about how I've met them, just so that once we get started, you'll have some fun tips to know about them. So the mystery question, they have no idea what I'm going to ask them. I'm excited about the element of surprise. This is like my favorite part because I get to ask them something they have no idea what I'm going to ask them. So, and then after that, then we'll introduce them. This will be a way for us to kind of loosen up and have some fun, even though we are focused on the topics that are at hand, which are very serious matters, but we want to enjoy life while we do life. All right. So our first mystery question will go to Miss Faith Dickens. So Faith, my apologies, let me give you the credentials so that you can unmute yourself. All right. All right, Faith, you can unmute yourself at will.
All right. Good afternoon, good morning, good afternoon here, morning there, right?
Yes. Where are you calling? Where are you tuning in from?
I'm actually in South Florida, a place I'm near between Fort Lauderdale and West Palm Beach.
Okay, so how did you guys make out with the weather?
Actually, it was fine. I'm a Floridian, so I kind of can gauge it, right? So when they were saying the hurricane and everything, I never really felt it in my spirit, and it's been drizzling off and on today, but we're fine. We're fine. We prepare, hunker down, and trust God.
That's right. That's what you got to do. And we can identify, we can relate because I'm from New Orleans. So I think we're the hurricane capital of the world. I don't know. We might have to debate over that.
I don't know. Yeah.
All right. So here's our mystery question. You have number one and number two. Which question do you want?
I'll take two.
All right. Two. Things are better when you have two. All right. All right, so Faith, this question for you. And these questions were taken from community people, some polls, some research. So they're random questions. You have no idea what I'm going to ask you, but I've already separated the questions based on your area of expertise. Okay. And so I read your bio, and I know that you are a minister of the gospel and you are a licensed certified counselor. Mm-hmm. So this question is perfect for you. It said, should we pray about it or seek professional help?
Both. Okay. So right now, with everything that's going on, it's incredible to pray. I am the director of prayer at my church, so I definitely believe in prayer, but I also understand the importance of being able to talk through some of the things that we're dealing with right now. And so we pray about it and we seek God, and then people are at different places of prayer, right? So when you say pray about it, it's so vast. It's so widespread. I think sometimes we don't narrow it down. And I know we say, you don't have to pray like somebody else, but there are different levels and different dimensions and realms to prayer. So that's a whole nother topic. So when you just tell people to pray about it, they may not be in a place where they're actually tapping into certain things to get the release and the peace that they need. And so, when it comes to counseling as a Christian counselor, one of the things that I emphasize with all of my clients is, as much as they're open to it, is to develop an intimate relationship with God. Mm-hmm. And so I always tell them, your work is to work with God. We'll talk about the matters, but then I'm here to help walk you through it, as a counselor and as a minister. And so I say prayer, as a matter of fact, it's funny that you would say that, because I did a webinar on faith in counseling, and I was talking about the importance of combining the two. So definitely pray and seek counsel, because some of the things that we're dealing with are can be very overwhelming. And again, if you are not at a certain place in prayer, and hear me when I say this, because I know some people will walk away like, what does she mean? I pray, I know God. True, but there are different dimensions still in prayer. And so even with all of us having the ability to go before God, people get released in peace based on where they are. And so for instance, if you don't talk to me that often, you don't know a whole lot about me. You kind of have a feel for me, but as opposed to you talking to me all the time, and not only talking to me all the time, how in depth the conversation is. You see what I'm saying? So some of us pray and it's just kind of slam bam, thank you, ma'am, thank you, God. I woke me up this morning, the blood running through my warm through my veins. I give you glory, and out the door. Others sit and they labor before God and they worship and they seek his heart. And so that's what I mean about the different realms. And so when it comes to everything that's going on now and the heaviness, it is definitely important when you're having things that is beyond you to pray about it. But if it becomes intense, you need to seek counseling and professional help.
All right, and so that is, I totally agree with you wholeheartedly. And sometimes I just told, I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before, I told someone, I said, oftentimes we put a lot of pressure on our pastors or those that are in ministerial positions. We want them to be our guidance counselor, our fitness instructor, our math tutor. You know, we just trying to get a whole lot out of one person, which they may be able to do all those things, but you'll be more advantageous if you get someone that's an expert in every area. So if you want to, so you have a fitness coach to help you with your fitness, you'll have a pastor to help you with your spiritual things, you have a math tutor to help you with your math. So you have all these different experts. And so now you're getting the best of every industry that affects your life. So I truly wholeheartedly agree with you on that. And so don't go anywhere. You know, we got a lot more to talk about. All right. So now it's time for Miss Ida May. Hey,
How you
Miss Ida.
doing, Sandy?
How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you just fine. So you know you have a mystery question, but tell us where you're tuning in from.
From the patio in the backyard, actually. Um, and I'm in New Orleans East, so
Oh,
getting a little breeze.
a breeze in New Orleans. Okay, I have to come to your back porch.
I'm on break.
Yeah,
Uh,
you know, we have a different kind of heat. I see we have some people on from California. I tell them all the time, this heat is different, you know,
it,
so be
it,
prepared. It's a different kind of heat. All right, so the mystery question for you, we have number one or number two.
I guess I'll go with number one to be different.
All right, all right, dare to be different. In your professional opinion, is it better to rent or buy?
It is better to buy, in my professional opinion. If you have all of the components necessary to buy, meaning, you have to have your credit score, which is a part of your business, and you have to have some savings, and you just have to be in that mode. When you're renting, you're actually, or I think of it like getting yourself ready to buy. Because when you're renting, it's almost as though you take a stack of money and you get in your car and then you hold that stack of money outside the window while you're driving. You're just throwing money in the wind because it's something you'll never own. Um, and it's always good to own. So I do think it's better to buy as opposed to rent.
Right, and I totally and of course I agree with that advice because when you own something, and of course I have to look at it in both arenas. When you own something, you're able to leave a legacy to your children,
That's
and
right.
so that's one of the main reasons why I'm a very big component on buying. Um, Even if it's not somewhere you're going to stay forever, at least have some piece of property. I don't care if it's in half an acre of land, a quarter lot, something, just to have something to give to your children or an organization or a family member. If you don't have children, you always want to be in a position to be able to have something to leave to add to a legacy. And then the other side of that, when you own it, you get to paint the walls the color you want to paint them.
Right.
You know, so that's the fun side. I
Right.
am an HGTV fan. I'm a fanatic. Everybody in my family knows that's about the only thing I watch on TV.
Wow.
Try not to watch the news. So I am an expert in HGTV. You can ask me about any show, I got it. So if I ever go on a game show and the category is HGTV, I'll probably win. All right, so we're gonna go ahead, and so that was our icebreaker moment, our mystery question. I want to commend my panelists for not bailing on me and being bold and courageous and sticking it through. All right, so let's read a little bit about our panelist. Miss Ida May, she is a licensed real estate agent with Keller Williams Realty and a licensed insurance producer. And that's actually how she and I met. We
That's right.
both were working at an insurance company, and our desk was right across from each other. And Miss Ida Mae, she is just so welcoming, and we just was able to hit it off. She's a very good-hearted person, and those are the type of people I gravitate to. And anybody knows me, I don't meet a stranger, so I think we just kind of hit it off pretty good, and so that's where we met. But Ida Mae believes that the unique combination of real estate and insurance sales allows her to work with buyers, sellers, and investors, pledging knowledgeable professional representation from start to finish. Ida is a first generation American in New Orleans, born to Honduran immigrant parents. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm going to welcome you again. I learned so much from you during our time together at the insurance company about your culture and just some of my ignorances. You just kind of enlightened me on that. So I thought it was a pleasure to have met you. She graduated from Dillard University. We are alumni. Both of us are alumni of Dillard, so yay for that. With a BA in accounting. My son is currently in school for accounting, so we have a lot in common right now. Ada enjoys sharing her love of music with her children. Very polite children too. I don't know if that's supposed to be a thing, like every child is supposed to be polite, but yes, very polite children. Ida May enjoys sharing her love of music with her children. This propels her to devote time and money to community organizations that promote music education. She serves as a board member of organizations such as the New Orleans Volunteer Orchestra. So, yay. So, you're going to sing for us today, Ida May?
No, not
Okay.
if I want it to be an empty panel.
Well, that's something else we have in common. I can't sing either. All right. Faith Dickens is a certified counselor, author, speaker, licensed minister, and CEO of Live Again Counseling Services. Faith and I met at a conference. It was a business slash ministry conference. So we met there and we hit it off. She is so funny, y'all. I mean, she looked like, she's just a sweetheart. She is funny, so I really, really enjoy it. She brings the joy into any room that she enters in. And then she also don't mind setting you straight. She'll put that minister hat on real quick. So that's a little inside joke she and I are going to share. But anyway, she is the CEO of Live Again Counseling Services. Live Again Counseling was created to assist people in processing relationship challenges, grief, pain, hurt, and disappointment. She is a native of South Florida, where she currently resides with her family. Faith is a graduate of Nova Southeastern University with certification from the North American Association of Counselors and Columbia University Center for Complicated Grief. Very interesting. There's different levels of grief. I got that when I read that. I said complicated grief. I was like, there's more grief on top of grief? Oh my. So Faith believes that having a counselor to walk you through the most difficult times in life make it a tremendous difference. Faith's heart desire is to see people become completely whole while living out their purpose destiny. And I can attest to that. Faith is all about getting everybody back to that harmony, that joy that God had given us. And so in business or in ministry, we just have to deal with things. And it is so true. Oftentimes, especially in business, we want to make sure that our client and our community know that we have it all together and that we're the expert. You can depend on us. And so we have to have a certain shell that we put up. But at the end of the day, we do have to deal with the things that are on the inside. So let's go ahead and get started with our webcast. All right. So, ladies, I'm going to allow you guys, a minute, take your time, a minute or two to tell us through the course, maybe since February to now, because of the COVID pandemic, the outbreak, all the things that we see on the television, the things that you guys have experienced, whether it's in the real estate or in the counseling arena, what are the results of the COVID-19? What impact is it having on your industry? Ida Mae, you can go first.
Okay. Um, Insofar as real estate is, you would think that it's not really doing well just because of the change during COVID. But it is doing pretty good. The only difference that we have now is we have to be a little more creative in how we touch people, how we gather together, and just how we meet. I wanted to share some statistics with you. Do I have that capability to share the screen?
Yes, Let me stop sharing for just a second. I think we can only share one at a time. Oh, go ahead. You can share now.
Oops. Bear with me.
Oh, there we go.
Can you see my screen now?
Yes,
Okay. So I went in and just kind of wanted to give you some ideas. And I just chose 3 areas of the city that we could kind of look at going by zip code. And the first area that I chose was New Orleans East. So let's see. Let's go to the chart here. All right. So here in the chart, you can see, well, first off, it's a chart that's looking at the original price, which is the list price, versus the sold price. And it kind of gives you an idea. I did go back pre-COVID so that you're able to kind of get a variation. Looking from September, you can see that the original price or the list price was pretty close to what the amount was when the property was sold. And then you could see here in January, you have your list price and then your sold price. There was a drop in January, and that was just basically due to basic uncertainties. Everyone's nervous, and people, I think that number can sometimes be a little skewed by the fact that some people did remove their homes off of the market. Because if you have something out there that we find that if you get in contact with it, that that's the end of your life, or it could mean the end of your life, people are reluctant to have strangers in their home. So there were no showings. And even in the industry, we were just unsure of where it was going. And then you can see in February, everything starts to rebound. That's New Orleans East. I thought it would be fun, Candy, to show you on your side of the lake. I
all
just
right.
I just picked the zip code, so I
That's fine.
I didn't know your zip code. Oh, that
That's
popped up.
okay. I'm all the zip codes when I'm in Slidell because I'm constantly, in my car, and I've been surprised of the traffic. I'm like, aren't we in a pandemic? Where's the stay home order? Why am I in traffic?
Right? And you can see last year, everything was pretty close. The sale price versus the sold price, it traveled on pretty close. Even in January, it was just a small drop. It wasn't a huge drop. Now in August, it's a huge drop. Um, but we also have one thing that you want to keep in mind is that if there were nothing built from today on and no one put their house on the market and we only had the current inventory that we have right now, we would only have a month's worth of inventory. So that's considered rather low, not rather low, really low.
Wow.
So, in some areas, you have, well, in a lot of areas, you have um, a lot of buyers coming to one house. So you may have 5 or 6 buyers trying to get the same house. And that's just because of the inventory. Um, However, we all know that the interest rate right now is really good. Another reason why it's a good time to buy. And then I'm going to do this last one just to give you this is my market area, Metairie, and just to give you an idea of how they're doing. Metairie is always a very sought after area. Um,
Right.
and you'll see that their trends pretty much were affected in March and in May. That's where they had the largest drop. But now that it's rebounding, you can see here that in the month of August, the list price, the original price, actually now they're receiving offers above that. So they're selling higher than what they list for. So sometimes it's, and that's always pre-COVID or after, COVID period. Um, the market is sometimes different in different areas, but
Right.
you do have that overall, you know, market. We're still in the seller's market, but there is kind of a pivot that's going on.
Right.
So,
And so I have some questions that I got from my audience, and I'm going to ask a little later, and it's going to kind of go back to the selling and buying war, and so I'm interested in finding out your opinion on some of the stuff. So great. So let's turn it over to Miss Faith. Thank you, Ida. I mean, that's why I was like, where's the, I see stuff selling. When you drive by a house, you see the for sale sign, and you come back a day or two later, and it's sold. I'm like, oh my god.
right.
So, somebody got some money. All right. So Faith, tell us in your industry, in your line of work, what has been the result due to COVID? What's going on your side of town?
So in the mental health industry, a whole lot is going on in terms of counseling with people. The difference is versus real estate is that, especially in our community, we are still very, even though it's becoming more of a normal topic now. I'm not seeing my screen. Hold up. Let's see. Hold up.
That's all right.
Okay.
Take your time. I
All
got.
right. So even though now we're seeing so many things happen in our community, we're still very behind when it comes to mental health and seeing about ourselves in that aspect. We tend to be reactive rather than proactive. And so what we're seeing a lot of now is the settling down from, if we start from the beginning of the year when Kobe Bryant passed away, and then we kind of go right into getting into the pandemic. The children are out of school, people are furloughed and losing jobs. And then you get into the whole George Floyd situation, and multiple situations around that time, even prior to George Floyd. And so there is a lot of heaviness, there's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of fear about the uncertainties of the economy, fear, you know, there's a sense of normalcy that was lost. And when people also have placed all of their trust in themselves and their abilities, and they don't seek God, that becomes a problem. So you're seeing more and more cases of people starting to have mental breakdowns, um, people having to know how to cope with it, but trying to just scrambling all over the place. And so some of the clients that I see, I even kind of mention it to them like, hey, don't kind of wait until you get in like a pressure cooker situation. When you kind of see things are becoming too much for you, reach out. And I think we don't place the value on our mental health as much as we do our hair, our makeup, where we're going to live, what we're going to drive, what we're going to wear, right? And so while all of those things are important, if you totally have a moment where you're going through life and you keep piling incident after incident, trauma after trauma, situation after situation without processing it or dealing with it, it is going to have a serious effect on your mental health. So I think now that we're in August, um, all over the country, never has it been a time where people were so divided on whether or not the kids are going to go to school, whether or not this is going to open. I think California closed a few weeks ago. And so it's just really interesting to see things that we're dealing with. And then there's such a strong lack of leadership governmentally. And I'm going to get into all of that. So people are just trying to figure out what to do. But the cases are there, whether or not people are really, really realizing it. My concern is that most people wait again to be reactive. And we can help you when you're reactive. It's just, it's going to take a little bit more. So that's what I've been seeing.
Right, and it's so interesting that you mentioned about the fact that we don't really want to talk about mental health. That is a topic that is kind of hush hush. We had the stigma of if a person is seeking a psychiatrist or a counselor, they must be crazy. And so we associate it with crazy with negative. So if we're saying mental is crazy, then we automatically think mental and negative all go in the same boat. Where in actuality, it's just like when we're walking, we're exercising because we want to have our body in a better position. It's the same thing with our mind. It needs exercise, and sometimes it's just good to talk, to vent. And unfortunate, everybody doesn't have a support system.
Right.
Some people have sisters and brothers that they have a close relationship with, or they have a best friend. And then sometimes, even then, are you going to get the right advice? When you vent, are you going to put more gas on the fire, or are you going to fan it and cool me down? So that is so important. And like you said, especially in our culture, we do not embrace we don't embrace mental health. And so we had our very first show, I believe it was our very first webcast. We spoke about one of our topics was mental health, and we're going to have another session in October dealing with mental health, and we're going to have one in September dealing with the rate of women that die in the hospital giving childbirth, and how many children that we have in our culture that die, that are stillborn, and things like that. And so all of that has a mental health component to it. And now you couple that with business, running a business. Then you couple that with the pandemic, losing a loved one. So you have all these things. And so we're, like you said, we're from one thing to the next. And so that does have an effect on our business. So, I know this webcast is primarily based to business owners, but I always tell people before we open, we turn the sign around and say open, we're a person first. Right. Before we're that business owner. So a lot of times how we handle our personal life will stem over into our business. So I truly believe that would, I could speak for myself when I think I'm always kind of happy or joyous. I just kind of have that fractious mindset of having joy. But when I have happiness, oh, y'all might get 10% off today. I mean, hey, it's a sale for everybody. Everybody can, hey, you buy one, you get two free. I don't know. But when you've had that stressful day, you don't even want to answer the phone. Right. You're just like, I need a minute to detox, but you don't get a minute in a business. The business is constantly running. It has no respect for your personal life. So don't go anywhere. I want to talk to you a little bit, in a little bit about that, about how as a business owner are we to navigate and flip the switch. I used to say it all the time. Or just flip the switch. I just had into a big old argument in the car, but then I have to come in here when I flip the switch. But sometimes we forget to go back and deal with it. And so we just kind of carry that through the work week. So don't go anywhere. We're going to come back to you on that topic in particular. So let's go to our next slide. Aren't y'all excited? Y'all want to what is she going to have on this next slide? I know it. So if you're thinking about coming on the webcast, we would love to have you, but let it be known you are going to not have a copy of the PowerPoint prior to. I just love the organic of it, and I believe that God has blessed me to bring on people that really know what they're talking about. I'm not going to ask you anything out of your area of expertise, so you should be safe. So if you're thinking about coming on, come on and let us know. We're looking for you. All right, so here we go. Let me get my questions out that I took. All right, so in connection, so we're going to get some expert advice from these two ladies. And so for connections, we're going to start with Ida Mae, and the question that came in for you: what happens? What should happen should the buyer and the seller have a connection in their working relationship?
So when you have an agent who's representing you, that you have to trust that agent's experience and their knowledge of the industry. So a lot of times you're represented by your agent whenever you're talking to the buyer or you're talking to the seller. There are some situations where that agent represents both the buyer and the seller. I have a situation like that now. The only thing that you have to always be cognizant of is that you are not sharing information that you might know about the buyer to the seller and vice versa. You are 100% representing that person when you are acting on their behalf. So, in terms of that connection, I do believe that it's better if you have an agent representing you, that you allow that agent to do their job, to do what they're trained to do, which is to communicate through your agent to the seller or the seller's agent who then communicates to the seller.
All right, thank you. Yeah, so you gotta have you and your agent should be so closely knit during that process that you should exchange Christmas gifts that year.
That's
Like,
right.
oh yeah, especially if they got you, got you into the house, help you get into the house of your dreams. You should think about the real estate agent. Give them a gift. All right.
You're just offering a gift as well as the agent. You're offering a gift to that person who's trusted you with one of their biggest and largest purchases that they'll ever make, and that's the purchase of their home. So we do a lot of gifting
Yeah,
at
and
all
that's
times.
a tax write-off. So don't forget that.
I
Any industry that you're in, if you gift your client, keep the receipt. That is a tax write-off for you.
okay.
But the only thing is the flip side of that is not a tax write-off for the taxpayer. Oh well. But anyway, that's why everybody should have a business. Okay, that's a whole nother show. Whole nother show. All right. This question comes from the comments, and it is for Faith. Dr. Dietra Bishop asks, how do well, I'm going to read it verbatim. Let me read her question verbatim. Dr. Dietra Bishop asks, how do we break the stigma attached to mental health in our community?
By being the first to step up and do it. So in other words, what it looks like is when we go to the doctor, nobody go to the physical doctor, our family, primary care physician, right? Not even a specialist. Nobody says, oh, you went to get, a physical and think it's something wrong. I think that over time, there's been a lot of misunderstanding and ignorance because let me say this, it was a situation I was dealing with last week. And my friend and I were having a conversation, and it was a situation where a person did not want to be medicated, that really needs to be medicated at this time. And so I said, you would be surprised to know the CEOs of companies that we patronize on a regular basis that are on medications to keep them afloat, right? I think that in our community, the more we step up, I mean, you may not need extreme counseling or extreme measures of mental health help. But I think when we're open to the idea of, I'm dealing with this, I'm going to see a therapist, I'm going to see a counselor, or advising our family and our friends. Have you saw somebody about that? Because you said something earlier, Candy, about how we put so much pressure on pastors, or even when you mentioned that everybody doesn't have a support system. Everybody's not set up to take on sometimes what you're dealing with, one, and then it may be some things that you don't want to disclose with people that know you. Because sometimes when people are too familiar with your personal business, something that you may be struggling with or something that you don't feel comfortable sharing and not having to worry about repeating. One thing about counseling, there's a confidentiality. Anything outside of you hurting, you sharing that you want to hurt yourself or hurt someone else, we don't have to share. And so I think that in our community, we remove the stigma by embracing the fact that it's okay to see a counselor, by embracing the fact that it's okay. Like for years before I went into counseling, I didn't have an understanding of it. But I also understand people have chemical imbalances. People go through things in life and handle it differently in terms of traumas and things. Some things are genetics. And so when you really look at it, are you going to look at someone that has diabetes and has a history of it in their family and be like, oh, something wrong with them because, diabetes runs in their family? I'm using that because it's so prevalent amongst the Black community, that and high blood pressure. And so when we talk about hypertension and diabetes, we don't like tell people, oh, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. But when it comes to mental health, we seem to tell people, somebody died, be strong. Be strong. I tell people, no, cry, scream, go in a room, kick, whatever you feel like you need to do, emote. Because what happens is when you keep that stuff bottled up and you don't have a proper vent and you don't have a release outside of prayer is important. But sometimes you need to just sit and talk about what you have going on. Once you talk about it, 9 times out of 10 in those sessions, you start to realize like, dang, it's not as bad as I thought it was. 2, I kind of have some of the answers, because honestly, I'm gonna give y'all a quick secret. In counseling, all we really help you do is answer what you already had an answer to. Like, there's nothing, we're just helping to navigate you through it. A lot of times, I'll ask questions because you're just asking all of these questions. And the person will go, oh my God, you're right. You ask a question and they answer it. It's not for me, it's for them. And so I think in our community, when we begin to really, really embrace that it's okay to talk to someone, if you don't know somebody that's a counselor and you're not comfortable with them, find somebody you don't know that don't nobody know, because people are private about their personal lives, their personal information. And I understand that because I'm a very private person when it comes to that kind of stuff. So I think the more we embrace it, when we see a situation, someone went through a divorce, someone suffered a loss, whether it was a loved one that passed away or something happening where they lost some capacity in their health, or they lost something in terms of a career, or they lost their job, whatever. Whenever people deal with loss and they're around us, embrace it with, hey, have you thought about talking to somebody about that? I'm here for you, but maybe you should talk to somebody that can really help you. And so when we start to embrace it and push it on people in a way that is warm and inviting, then they're okay to be like, you're right. So the first time I went to strong counseling outside of my pastor, right? Because like you said, we go to the pastor for everything, bless their heart. I went to grief counseling when I lost my mom and dad in 2000. I lost both of my parents 8 months apart in 2014. And by 2015, I was having a coaching session with somebody concerning business, right? And this person happens to be a minister. And so I'm talking to them, and I kind of mentioned I had lost my parents a few months ago, and I kind of breezed through it. And they said, hold on, you mentioned you lost your parents, have you went to counseling? Here we go, strong superwoman of color, because we can take on everything. And I was like, oh no, I'm fine, As a matter of fact, I felt some type of way about her asking me about that, because we got that pride thing, because the stigma also comes with pride. I was like, no, I'm fine, I'm fine. She was like, no, sweetheart, you can't. She said, I heard you mention your parents. You can't go past your healing. And I was like, and I'm glad I listened. And I went and I took it. I went and took her advice, and I started going to counseling. Believe it or not, I actually became a counselor as a result of me going through grief counseling, because I became so passionate. My parents died. They were pastors, and off the rip, everybody like they were Jesus. I know they were Jesus, but I was having a hard time processing it. So what my personal experience was in the church, everything is pray and seek God. And God knows I believe in prayer. I was raised on it. My name is Faith. I mean, you can't get no more close. Your mama named me Faith, right? And so there's a whole story behind that. But when I started to go through the counseling, that's when I had began to develop this passion. Like, I never wanted anybody to ever feel the way that I did in a spiritual environment where everybody telling you how you should seek God and you just pray about it. Your mama done with the Lord. It's not like they didn't die and cry. Okay, I know that, but this hurts. My heart is broken. There were a number of things going on. And so me going through counseling, it was helping me. But then my counselor was like, she was the one who said, okay, have you ever thought about doing? She's like, well, what do you want to do next? Because, sometimes when you have major situations in life, like a death of a loved one, a spouse, a parent, a child, it brings you to a crossroad in life. And you start to reevaluate your whys or why you do what you do. And at that moment, I began to reevaluate what was my purpose in life? What was I here for? Like, I knew certain things, but it totally changed my perception. And as I was going through counseling, and I'm like, I just really want to help people. When people are grieving, she was the one who started to say, well, Columbia has this program. And so from there, I went to Columbia. I started making all of the steps for me to be here today. And I'm still working on some other credentialing as we speak. But to go back, I think that when we begin to embrace it from a healthy manner, no one says, oh, your teeth hurt, or, you want to get your teeth white. Why are you going to the dentist? Oh, she going to the dentist. We don't do that. Right. We don't say, oh, you want to go check out. You feeling a certain way. You've been feeling, very fatigued, and you're going to the doctor. Girl, she going to the doctor because she feeling fatigued. Something wrong with her. But when it comes to our mental health, we put these, and it's really just ignorance and not knowing. And I think the more we become educated, we begin to embrace it and we begin to encourage it. Now, there's all types of counseling. So now you got to kind of shop and ask the Lord for good discernment on who you should be that vulnerable with. Because I've spoken to people that have said to me, oh my God, you're so different. And I'm not saying this to toot my own horn. I'm just saying this has been real life situations where they say, I went to counseling, but when I left, I felt worse. I'm like, that's not supposed to be. So it should make you think you may be uncomfortable, but you shouldn't feel worse than when you came. So to solidify that question, when we begin to embrace it and become more educated about it and be open to it, that's when it'll begin to really, really start to remove the stigma. There's a lot of talk around it now, but I think there's so much more work that we can do to kind of embrace it and push it.
Oh yes, you confirmed something that I've been thinking about, and that was to have a mental health drive. And I said, well, we have the blood drive, or we have this, or we have that, and I want to target the business owners. And so that kind of brings us into our next topic, the economics, because finances have a lot to do with our mental stability. And I know a lot of people say, well, money, money is not everything. Well, it might not be everything to you, but I feel like if I have some money, I can help this person. I can help that person. So my heart is in the right place. And by the way, I got to pay my light bill too. So, so I do need some funds to do all that. So as a business owner, we tend to have that stress. We watch the dollar because we're watching the numbers. Are we making money? Are we losing money? Where should we put this? Should we, invest in this, invest in that? So it's a lot that we deal with that centers around money. And so the next question, the first one is going to be for Adame in reference to economics. What is one of the things that, as being a real estate agent, now this is from one of the list questions here, and then I'll look and see if we have a real estate question in the chat. So the first question I want to ask you about economics is, when it comes to buying and selling a home, a lot of times the seller, the person that owns the home, they have an emotional attachment to the home. And so they feel like this is a $1 million listing. Then here you come along with your red pen and you say, oh, I can get you about 150. And, so should we, when it comes to real estate, we have to stick strictly to the numbers, or should there be an emotional investment that, how do you help sellers, navigate through that? Look, I know you think it's worth this because you put this, this gold tile in the bathroom, but
That's a great question. First, let me go back, and I just want to say to Ms. Faith that I understand your feeling about the name, but I gotta tell you, as a kid, I would have loved to have the name Faith.
And I was the total opposite.
Oh, she said because of Adame and Faith.
Adame is an old name, and it takes some getting used to. It took me a long time to get used to it. But anyway, so with regard to that, I think we all have a component of having a personal feeling about our house, because we put a lot into our house. It's the place where we spend the most time, or the second most time, because a lot of times we're working more than we're spending time in our home. And yeah, it can be have a feeling of hurtfulness when that agent who's not attached to your home and who doesn't know anything about what it took you to get there, to just come across and say, well, it's not worth 150, it's only worth 100. But sometimes what you have to look at is that agent is removed from the personal contact that you have with it, or the emotional contact that you have with your home. And what they're looking at is not necessarily strictly the numbers, but they are looking at homes on the market at that time that are very similar to yours. And their job is basically to tell you what what's out there, what that buyer, when they come along, could choose, as opposed to choosing your home. So basically, just telling you everything that's on the market, and based on what's on the market, and how it's relative to your home, they give you that figure. Um, at the end of the day, I mean, it is your home, and you do have that choice to, if we tell you, hey, we think it's in your best interest to list the house at 125 as opposed to 150, then really the market dictates to the owner. So say that we list it for 150 because that owner is very insistent and they would like to have it listed for 150. Within a very short period of time of listing the home, the market dictates, the market tells you whether or not that's the right price for the home. So if your home is listed at 150, you put it on the market and it sits, then the market's telling you, hey, it might not be the right price. And then, then that agent comes back to you and really upsets you because now they're asking you to let's lower the price. And now you're really upset, right?
Right,
But
right.
it's important to kind of detach yourself from the emotional connection that you have of your home. And if you notice, I don't know if you've had an agent tell you this before or not, but it's very important that when you do list your home, that you're removing photos of yourself and of your family. And that's because when that person comes in and they're looking at the home, you want them to envision their family in that home. And if they're looking at your pictures, then they can't see their family in that home. So a lot of times they ask you to remove things that are, personal. Um, and that's not because, they don't love your pictures and they don't think your family is beautiful. It's just because you've commissioned them to sell your home, and in the process of doing that, they have to do all the things that they know they need to do in order for that buyer to walk in and see themselves in that home. And then once they purchase the home, they get to enjoy it the way that you did. And they then have that personal connection to it. Um, so it's important, I think, to be sensitive as an agent to the fact that this person has worked and labored and um, they've put a lot into their home, and you do want to appreciate those things that they have put into the home. But at the same time, they're not hiring you to come in to say, oh, your home is beautiful and it's really this and it's really that. They're hiring you to sell their home. And so there are things that we have to do, and the numbers are a part of those things that we have to do to make it sell. Yeah.
Yeah, that I never thought about that. That's a very good tip. Thank you, Ida Mae. So, all you home sellers out there, before you have your showing, remove your pictures of your little loved ones and your grandbabies. I know you think that they're most beautiful, and they're gonna help you sell the home, but Miss Ida Mae just instructed us to take our little cute pictures down. So that 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 and it makes sense. It makes perfect sense. And then you don't want anybody feeling bad, like, oh gosh, I'm about to buy this home and little Johnny's gonna miss his room. So yeah, that's a really good tip. So our next block, we're gonna move over to conflict resolution. All right. So I have a question for both of you ladies. All right. So we're gonna take a question for Faith. I'm gonna go to the chat and I'm gonna read it exactly how I saw it. All right. So we'll put this in the conflict resolution category because I've heard it a lot. What is the difference, Faith, between grief and mourning?
Well, grief and mourning basically is one and the same. It's a matter of because people tend to categorize grief or limit it to death, right?
Mm-hmm.
And mourning is basically um, another aspect or state, if you will, of grief. So it's basically one and the same. It's basically like another. another way to describe grieving. Because you can also be in mourning about being an empty nester. You can be in mourning about your marriage ending. You know, we know that divorce is the death of a relationship. So when I really started to study and become more educated and get a greater understanding of grief, it really, like, I was just shocked over all of the things that we can actually grieve. And so I think that yeah, they are, to answer that question, they are one and the same.
Okay, all right. And I'm thinking of another question that if we have time, I'll come back to it. So,
Okay.
item A for conflict resolution. Here we go. The seller won't budge and the buyer is being unrealistic. How do you get in and save the day?
When you say the seller won't, they won't lower the price and the buyer will not come up to
Right.
that dollar. It depends on, every buyer is not necessarily the buyer. And what I mean by that is, you could have someone, they come in and they really love your home, and they make an offer, but that offer is not even close to what you, as the seller, would like to get. And keep in mind, as a seller, sometimes we have other motivations. And it's not just trying to be difficult. Um, Sometimes we have a remaining balance on that home, and we don't want to walk away from that home upside down. So sometimes we're limited as to what we can consider. So that buyer not being motivated to come up to your price, and you not necessarily being, as the seller, not necessarily being motivated to go down to their price. I think sometimes you can't force it. I mean, we as the agent, we try to, um, you know, get that buyer up and talk to that seller. But at the end of the day, sometimes that buyer may not be the buyer. So it may not be the right buyer for your home. So it just means maybe you'll have to wait a little bit longer to get the right buyer who's willing to come in and offer you what the home is worth, that will allow you to walk away from the home without a balance on the home.
Right.
So, you know, sometimes when we're in a situation where we're a little desperate and we want to get rid of the home, maybe we're paying two mortgages. And, that's a personal decision there where you have to decide, are you willing to take that loss? But at the end of the day, I think, we as the agent, we give you the information, but that decision is yours as the seller or the buyer, because you're the one, when we walk away, you're the one who has to have that lifetime debt, or that lifetime of looking back at something and feeling like you didn't get what you needed to get out of it. So we try to make it happen, but we do also consider the fact that maybe that buyer is not the buyer.
Right. And when you were saying that, I instantly said I can put that into any business. Every customer is not our customer.
That's right.
And I think as business owners, as sellers of homes, we have to accept that. And I guess faith can help us with our mental challenge on that. Look, you can't please everybody.
Right.
Everybody is not going to be your client. You shouldn't buy from everybody. Everybody is not going to be your place of shopping. And so sometimes when we have to sever the ties of the relationship, we sometimes tend to walk away, well, was it me? Should I have lowered my price? Oh, they don't like me, Faith. You know how that goes. They start taking the rejection of the product as a rejection of the person. And so now you have that. And then now we're mad at the agent. They didn't sell my house. They, should have took a picture from the right versus from the left. And we make it more than what it is. And just like Ida Mae says, hey, at the end of the day, it's your decision if you want to sell or buy or in business. And I think a lot of times just to hear that you can decline an offer and just sit on it. And sometimes we have to do that in business, say, look, you know what, I'm going to hold on to my services. I understand that I am not the company for you. And to be able to walk away from a sale, which in terms, of course, money or finances or a situation or a service or a product, sometimes we don't want to do that. So we're trying to force it, like, hey, I'm selling this house today.
We're
And you got
thinking about, and I'm
yeah,
thinking, with that question, just so you have a clear idea of what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about situations where you do have extreme, uh, you know, requests. Maybe you, as the seller, you're selling your home. That buyer comes in and they say, "Hey, I really like your patio, but I really wish you would just screen it in for me." Well, you're not building the house for them. So I'm talking about those kind of situations where,
right, right,
you have some
right,
unreasonable requests, and in those situations, it's very hard to come to an agreement when you have those unreasonable, extreme,
right,
requests.
right,
But, we all want the sale to go through.
right. You better believe that. We want to hit a ka-ching at the end of this
Right.
conversation. All right, Faith. Let me see what the next one. Hold on, I need to move out the way. Advice. Okay, so we come into the next part. Advice. Faith. For anyone grieving a loss of a family member due to COVID, what is your advice? Because when a person is ill, or they just been dealing with cancer a long time and they pass, you kind of, not gonna say you're okay with it, but you have a better acceptance of it. Like, hey, um, I saw this coming, or we knew this day was coming, but when it's COVID, you're not able to be there with them if they're in a hospital, they pass. So what is some of your advice for some of us that are dealing with loss of loved ones or friends, due to the result of the COVID-19 virus?
Okay, so yeah, COVID-19 deaths are very different in terms of, especially as it relates to if they were in the hospital, you weren't able to see them. That's one factor. The other strong factor is um, in-person support. So you know that because of all of the social distancing, um, normally, especially in our culture, we come over to the house, we bring some sodas, we bring some cakes and chicken, comfort foods, right? People are probably able to drop things off, but people are being most people are compliant. And so when you start with those layers that you probably couldn't be there, COVID was such a sudden thing, um, and you're not able to have people come and to fully embrace and be there to support you. It is definitely a difficult way to start off a grieving process, but after getting past those things, it's still the same as dealing with, coming to a resolve with any guilt that you have. So, if the person have COVID, and let's just say if it's a really close loved one, it could have been that, they were coughing 2 weeks before they started. I should have said something then. So come to a resolve with forgiving yourself from all of any guilt that's attached to it, because that's one of the major things that really, really will magnify grief and spin over into some other things. So you want to come to a resolve with the guilt. I didn't know. I'm not a physician. In the back of your mind, because when somebody dies, we automatically go into a mode of trying to pinpoint where we can place a blame, whether it's with somebody else, or whether it's with ourselves, or whether it's with the decedent, right? That's one aspect. And then you're going to deal with the anger. You're upset. This happened. This is unfair. Um, I'm hearing that there are some issues with insurance policies from people dying with COVID. I don't know the details of it because unfortunately, I haven't had to experience that, but I'm hearing that certain aspects of insurance companies are not paying out on COVID deaths. So then that's another thing that you could be angry about, in addition to all of those, in addition to the guilt. But you want to definitely see a counselor, a therapist. You need help, because at the end of the day, they're not coming back. So you're going to have to learn how to start grieving in a very healthy manner, in a manner where you can be vulnerable, in a manner where you don't have to feel like I got to rush through it. Because sometimes, even in family and friends sometimes mean well, but they can give some very poor advice because they're dealing with it. They're telling you from their perspective and how they would deal with it, which may be totally incorrect. And
Right.
then,
Some people say, well, he's been dead 5 years. He's still crying. You know,
right.
I'm
In
like,
some instances, they may have some wisdom. They may be the ones saying you need to go see somebody. So it's just, I always tell people whenever you begin the grieving process, it is so important of who you have directly around you. If it was somebody showing up and y'all didn't have a real good relationship before the death and they're just automatically wanting to be there for you, just kind of ask God for some discernment, because you're so broken, you're so vulnerable, and you do not want to add insult to injury by being vulnerable to the wrong people. So, and it was before I became a counselor, years ago, 2001, I had an experience. My first strong, I mean, I had lost family members, but my first really close experience was um, a few months before I was getting married. My fiance passed away, and we actually found him dead, and I had to do CPR, and it was horrific. It was traumatizing, but I was very young. But I don't know if God just put some type of instinct in me. I was not vulnerable to everybody. As a matter of fact, you weren't just coming to the house. I remember somebody coming to the house and my dad being like, so and so came, and I was like, what did they come for? So they must have came back, and I must have been in the room on a phone call, and I heard them say, "Oh, she's in the room, she'll be out." And this is like their second time coming. This is somebody that I had just saw like a week or two before my fiance died at a game, and I spoke to them, and they were very cold and callous towards me. So now they showing up, right? And my thing is, I feel like you just want to get the story on what happened. So I was broken, but I wasn't that broken. So when I came out of the room, they're like, "Oh, I came to see you," and I was like, "Okay, thank you so much for coming." Like, and my family was just kind of like, she just because thank you so much for coming. Me, thank you for coming. Like, I'm acknowledging your kindness, your empathy, and all of this doing my loss. But I need you to leave because I'm not getting ready to be letting my hair down. When you're grieving, you up and down. Your emotions are all over the place, and you need people around you that really love you and care about you for real, because not everybody can see you in such a raw state and still
right,
respect you, not go out and gossip about it. Some things is just to be kept, we colored folks on here. Some things is just to be kept in the house. And I don't mean like molestation and rape, okay? Because I want to make a real, because we good for family secrets. I'm not talking about it like that. So let me just, as a counselor, let me just make that discrepancy. But I'm talking about some things is personal and it's private. If I have a moment, I don't need 50 people when I see different people a month later. "Oh, girl, so and so told me you all right. Because I know, I ain't trying to get in your bit." Like, what the heck? I'm grieving. So
right,
this is why, you look at like celebrities and they can be very private. They block the cameras out. Because first of all, their life is on display. So you can imagine. But going back to your question, you want to deal with the guilt, you want to deal with the anger, you want to acknowledge the loss. Denial is a big part of it. It's like, like, this ain't real. You start to have all of those dreams. I was with them last night, I don't understand. And the dreams are real. When you dream about somebody that passed away and that your heart is connected to and knitted to, those dreams, when you dream and you come out the dream, it's almost like a dagger when you realize that you're waking up like, dang, they still not here. So you want to deal with that. You want to forgive. You want to forgive everybody that you feel like had a blame in it. The nurse should have called us sooner, when they were passing from COVID, right?
right.
That doctor didn't diagnose them on time, or they just sent them away and told them it was the flu and they actually had COVID. My mom, my husband, my kid could have still been living. So you gotta forgive, because unforgiveness is gonna block your healing.
Right.
And I'm
Right.
gonna emphasize that. Unforgiveness will block your healing. And this is not just in grief, this is in life, period. You have to let people go. Imagine it like this: would you walk around with a corpse of your loved one tied to your ankle and they haven't been embalmed?
Right.
It stinks. It's not gonna be after over time. It's not gonna be you looking at a decayed human. And I'm trying to give it's graphic, but I'm trying to give what it looks like in the spirit and what it does to your psyche. So when you don't forgive, it's almost like you holding something dead. It's dead weight. So what we need to be moving towards is um the dealing with the guilt, the anger, acknowledging the loss, forgiving, and then you want to come to a place where you release. And not all of these steps that I'm giving are not going to always happen back to back in that order. All right. So I
Right.
don't want people to think, well, I ain't on step 3. No, 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 no. It may take you time
Right.
and it may be completely out of sequence because this is not something, it's almost like having a toddler that's like 18 months old. You can take them somewhere, but you got a window of time of how they may get restless or not. Like you going to a wedding or you going to church and people say, well, they ate, they good. You can't really time when they start to get restless. And so that's how grief is. Grief is like a roller coaster. You never know where today you can wake up, okay, we're going to clean the house. I'm going to do this. Oh yeah, my business. You good. Tomorrow, you may not even want to get out of bed and want to keep the shades closed. It's that drastic in terms of your emotions. And so as you're dealing with COVID, and because we're still supposedly in some level of quarantine and we still should be using some level of wisdom in how we move, you still can't really be around people because guess what, Candy? I know I may be home and I'm quarantining myself, right? And you may be trusting that. Well, then my daughter comes here. She might have been at work. Then you've been, and it's just too many ways.
Too many variables.
Right. And so not that, nobody ain't clean and they're not being careful. Maybe somebody could be asymptomatic. That was a big thing, right? And that's like being a carrier. So somebody can be asymptomatic dealing with somebody that don't have any symptoms, and then they come in contact with somebody. So now you got all of these other aspects where normally as you're grieving, people gonna come to the house even after the fact, even though the company is drastically diminished after you bury your loved one. That's just life. But the little support that you did have, you got to either do a Zoom, FaceTime, or over the phone or texting. And listen, people, if you know people that have lost people due to COVID or during COVID, and it had nothing to do with the virus, but it was like cancer or something like that during this time, and going forward, don't just text them. Let that be your last result. It is so impersonal. I remember when I lost my mom, people was like, oh, I'm so sorry to hear about your mom. And I'm like, seriously? You sending me a text? Some people, and I know it makes people uncomfortable. All you got to do is get on the phone and say, hey, I'm so sorry. I wanted to extend my condolences to you and your family. If you don't mean I'm here, if you need me, don't say it.
Come on now. You can pass the plate on that one.
Just say we praying for you or whatever. Do not say I'm here if you need me. Because if the people reach out to you and they say something like, oh, can you bring us some water? Can you bring me a piece of fish? Can you, whatever the case may be. Oh, girl, I can't do it. You don't want to break their heart anymore. When you grieving, you're extremely delicate. Okay, I've been there twice, 3 times. So you're very delicate. And so as us on the other end, let's be keepers of our word. My grandmama said it like this: if your word ain't no good, you ain't no good.
Uh-oh.
If things change and you made a promise, communicate that. Hey, Candy, I know I told you I was going to come and bring you the chicken, but I'm so sorry. X, Y, Z just happened. And it may not be important to Candy, but at least you communicating that you can't do it. But don't call her in the hour that you're supposed to get. You're supposed to be at 11:30 to bring whatever or to do whatever. And you call her 11:30, I can't do it. That's another disappointment on top of what they're already dealing with. So if you're bad with keeping your word, just keep your mouth too. Don't go in any further on what you can do to help them and all of that stuff. And so with that being said, I hope I answered that.
Faith had a flashback. She was like, "Look, don't be calling me, telling me you're gonna do something, you ain't gonna do it." Yes, indeed, that was some good advice. If you're not gonna do what you said, and we can use that in any area, whether it's in business, whether it's in our personal life. Try to be keepers of your word. Follow through with people. Follow up. Mean what you say, and say what you mean. Mm-hmm. That way, that eliminates a lot of confusion, especially in business. Don't overpromise and underdeliver. That will ruin any business. It really does. And then and you could have had the best of intentions, but that person they may be on a budget. So everything matters to them. And just like in grief, they were at that breaking point, and now that they know you're coming, they have regained hope, and then you don't show up. So it's very, very important that we are keepers of our words. And so we're going to move to our next slide. And as I'm going to discuss a few things, ladies, I want to invite you to look in the chat. We have some questions. Put your contact information in there. To kind of respond to some of the questions that some of our viewers have put in. And so that'll give me a chance to go over the next slide while you guys kind of scroll through the chat and see what the people have to say. They may have some questions for you, but make sure you put your contact information in there as well. So I want to invite everyone that's viewing to tune in with us on next week. We on August the 12th at 11 a.m. we are going to have an awesome panel as always. I just truly believe that during this time, we're learning a lot and we're getting different perspective and we're getting insight to help us in our business. But also, like I always say, before you're a business owner, you are a person. So we're going to deal with all areas of it. We're going to deal with the personal life. We're going to deal with your business life. I truly believe that God is concerned about the entire man, not just our ministry, but he's concerned about our family, our business, our community. Everything that is important to us is important to him. It may seem small here, but it's big to him. And so on next week, we're going to have the Weathersbys, which is Pastor Lawrence Weathersby and Pastor Chiquita Weathersby. They're the senior pastors of Living the Word International Ministry, which they're also my pastors. That is my home church. Pastor Chiquita is also an author. So we're going to discuss a little bit about her book. They're going to come and tell us a little bit about business. They are entrepreneurs at heart as well. They are, I tell people all the time, are these, what kind of pastors are these? They just, I just love it. They're not so heavenly minded that they're no earthly good. And they embrace fine arts is something that they embrace, and you don't get that a lot. Spoken word, dance, so things of that nature. And a lot of times, those are things that people monetize on. And so, being able to share your gifts and talents in your ministry means a lot because those are some of the same things that we do outside of the church. And sometimes when we don't have that support system, it kind of hinders our growth in our business. So it is awesome that at their ministry, they have what's called the Business Covenant Partners, which means they have an auxiliary at the church for business owners. So if you're an entrepreneur or small business owner, you can be a part of this auxiliary where they provide resources and information to help you grow in your business. So that's going to be very interesting. So they're going to talk to us along with Duran and Courtney. They are owners of Real Estate Broker E-Group, and also Courtney does nonprofit organization management. And so this month in August, we're going to be talking about real estate in every episode and every web class in August is all about real estate. So tune in next week, same time, make sure that you're registered so that you can get the alert. We want to bring your attention to going to our website, reading more about it, and getting the topics. So the topics next week are going to be business and marriage. That's going to be interesting. Business and ministry, business and America. So we're going to talk about some of the social issues and how it is affecting us in our business as well in our personal life. So all these topics, if you're married, that's a personal matter. If you're in ministry, that's a personal relationship with God. And if you're in America, you're an American. So we're going to deal with the business side as well as the personal side. So I invite you all to tune in again next week and tell somebody about it. All right. So on this, I'm going to give these ladies the chance to do the 30-second elevator pitch and tell us about their company and what it is where we can find them and how they can better assist us. So we'll start with you, Ms. Ida Mae.
Okay. My name is Ida Mae Conduit. I am a real estate agent with Casa Keys LLC, which is powered by Keller Williams Realty. And, I find that real estate, it's almost like my superpower. I do like to help people, but I also try to give them the information they need to help themselves as well. So mostly, helping people is what I like to do. And real estate gives me a way to do that. Yeah.
And I believe Ida Mae is being very modest. I hear something in there. I feel like if Ida Mae gonna help you close the deal, she's gonna get it closed and she ain't taking no junk. You're not gonna come up in here offering my client nothing that's off the wall. She's gonna make sure that everybody is satisfied walking away from that table. So if you want someone to help you sell your home, you want Ida Mae on your team, she's gonna get you top dollar. She
Yeah.
ain't taking. I could tell it. She's that mama bear. You can tell it.
I
She
have
got it in her.
been good. So far, I have been pretty good. And I tell you, I was a little worried because, as you said, we met doing insurance, and I was doing insurance. I was working for Allstate, and for a couple years. And I decided, and I was doing that while I was doing real estate. Then I decided, you know what, let me jump off and do this myself. And then here comes COVID. Needless to say, I was nervous, but now I'm in it. And I find that it's been working really well. And, I find customers and, we manage to get deals closed. I don't sit on the market for too long, and that's pretty good. So not tooting my own horn, but just kind of saying, I've been blessed. So
Well, that's awesome. And we know when you do have a superpower and you have what I like to call an unfair advantage when we have God on our side. We just kind of corner the market. So, but anyway, that's a whole nother
all right.
history. That's a whole nother conversation for another day. Come on, Miss Faith, tell us all about it. Tell us how we can get in contact with you, what services you can offer, and how can you help us.
Okay, so I just put in the comments, I put my website, which is liveagaincs.com. Again, I am Faith Dickens, a certified counselor and also a licensed minister. I've also written a book entitled Live Again. I wrote it a few years ago. This is my first baby, and it is a guide to processing the pain, hurt, and disappointments of life. So in this book, I kind of walk through, so many times people write a book and they'll title it about something. But when you start reading it, they're just telling you about what they went through, which is great. So what I do in this book is I share briefly some of the things that I've gone through in terms of grief, disappointment, pain, and hurt. But I also give you steps to process through it. And so it's also, again, it's a guide to kind of walk you through it. And so that can be purchased on my website at liveagaincs.com, where you can also schedule appointments. If you follow me on social media, on Facebook, I have a personal page, Faith Dickens, but my handle, and I'll type it here for everything else, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter is at Live Again CC to follow me. There are instances when I'm sometimes hosting webinars that are typically free, sharing information. I have not been doing any lives in a minute because I was taking a personal sabbatical. And one of the things that I didn't get to, and I'll emphasize it now, is the importance of taking personal R&R, and that is totally unplugging from social media, unplugging from anything that could potentially disturb your peace. When you find yourself getting to a breaking point, or life becoming overwhelming, or you just feel like I just need some rest, if you can't do a vacation because of everything, and maybe because of from a financial standpoint, my suggestion to you is either do a staycation, get you a night or two at a local hotel, that a place that's very tranquil, or go ahead and, if you're in a situation where you can kind of quarantine your house, and by that I mean like let people know you're not going, we're not taking no company. Well, we shouldn't be having a whole lot of company anyway. But in your own home, come off of social media, not watch as much TV, seek the Lord, pray, spend time with your family, do something to help you. I live in Florida, so I'm fortunate I can just take a walk.
Don't rub it in. We don't want to hear about the beach and the blue water. Thank you,
And so
ma'am.
if you're near bodies of water, parks, botanical gardens, things that are very therapeutic, museums that could possibly be open, find something outside of yourself and outside of your norm to help to stabilize you. Praying, seeking the presence, staying in the presence of God, your word, those things are vitally important. But in addition to that, when you're talking about that R&R time, take some time to unplug. You ain't got to look at every post. You ain't got to see everything. I notice nowadays people get together and everybody doing this. And I'm that one. She said it earlier. I always come and ruffle everything. Like, hold up. I know I am not competing with people online, and 80% of it may not even be real. And I'm right in front of you and they get more attention from you. Put the phone down. Because we're so The first thing we do, check my email, check my this, and we
Are
laugh.
you talking about me fake when you said check your email? I mean, I'm leaving. I'm going on when I'll be like, can I just let me check it in the morning before I leave, just in case there's an emergency. I can,
And the thing is, but I'm talking about when you're trying
on,
to decompress and be with your family, all of that, because you're getting so much from the outside. You understand? So there is so much vying for our attention, our peace, and our focus. And unfortunately, we all adults here. When you see something or read something, you can't unsee or unread it. You've taken it in. So sometimes some things you just don't need to know right now, especially when you just need to be just at a place of peace. And so this is not all the time. I'm talking about when you need to just unplug. It is perfectly okay to take a personal sabbatical, to seek the Lord, to just spend some time with your family, spend some time with yourself, regroup, still run your business, still do all your great stuff, but do that too. And so just be mindful. But again,
Okay. Look, okay, I will. This can't be on Wednesdays at 11. We have to Wednesdays at
and
11.
that's what I'm saying. You work around it. But again, you can reach out to me at liveagaincs.com. Again, on social media at liveagaincc. That's Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.
We have had an excellent show. I am still thinking about that slide where Ida Mae was showing us the different the sales of the homes and businesses or whatever. Because I'm like, I'm driving by and I'm seeing stuff constantly going up, sold signs everywhere. And so, guys, this is the time if you've had got some free time. Read up on real estate. Find out what's available. We're gonna have to have these ladies back. I definitely want to have Ida Mae back when we talk. It may, if even if it's not on Actor Experts, maybe come back and give us some tips on how to buy, what to buy, where to buy. Just some of the language. I know that when I'm reading the documents, I'm like, this makes no sense to me. And so we can have her to come back at a later date and kind of give us a little education, the financial literacy side of real estate. And then we definitely want to have Miss Faith back so that she can come back and just, get us the detox, give us some tips and some tools. I think she's a pro at it. She's like, hey, we can't be live, so to speak, because of social distancing, but I'm sure we can do a virtual party of some type where she can come in and give us some ways to relax. This is a very tense time, and in every area, whether it's in our career, our company, our family, our churches, we weren't able to have live service, which was different. I've heard some people, they were posting on social media, dang, I should have went to church when I had the chance. I mean, I was like, okay. So, so from both sides of that. And so this is the time now where I believe that the Lord has our attention. So if there's anything that you want to learn how to do, follow us. Ask the experts. We have people from different industries, different walks of life. We have people from all races, and we even have men on the show. I know today it was an all female cast, and but we have a variation, and we may not agree all the time with everything, but this will give us an opportunity to have some exposure to information and to see what's out there. All right, so I'm gonna go to our next slide. So double check the comments, lady, so that when if we and preferably you guys made some connection. Get the information. If you don't want to ask any questions live on here, please feel free to reach out to them. They've given the contact information. Follow up with them. And so we're gonna. So I'm supposed to talk about myself here. They always say, "Well, I'd never really do my part," so I guess I'm gonna do my part today. All right, I'm gonna follow instructions. All right. So I want everyone, when you get a chance, to go to our website, kind of scroll through, go through each area. And by the way, I did design the websites. I do website building as well. So I did. So at least go look at it for that reason if you're considering a website for yourself. But go through the website. We have a tab on there for women that are in business. We have a tab for the youth, ages 7 through 17, where we're working with them on starting a business, the importance of a business, financial literacy, understanding stocks, understanding investing, saving money, how to spend money, budgeting, all those things. The things that a lot of us wish somebody would have told us when we were 7. So I consider this an opportunity for us to pay it forward. And so that's what the website is gonna give you information about. We also have what's called our MED program. That's where if you want to learn about anything, if you're in a career that you're not happy about, change it. Reach out to us. We can get some resources and some information to you. There are so many colleges right now that are offering free courses. We can give you a list of those colleges you may, if you want to be a real estate agent. There are some programs that you can go in and start studying if you want to be a counselor. Whatever the case may be, we have some connections and some resources that we have been afforded to be able to make some connections to help you change your career path. You want to be an entrepreneur, we are here to help you on that journey. No, it's not a bed of roses, owning your own business. But I tell you what, if I'm going to do the blood, sweat, and tears, I'm so glad to be doing it for my own company. So if you want to need any assistance in anything, reach out to us. Like Faith say, don't say something and don't mean it. So I want to make sure let me clarify that. If you need anything in business, if you need any financial literacy information, the AK Legacy Foundation is here to assist you. If you would like to be a panelist on our webcast, reach out to us. There's a tab on our website that says panelist information. Fill it out. We right now our show is packed all the way to October the 14th is our next available opening. We actually have panelists lined up from now all the way through October 14th, I believe, which is awesome. We're going to do something with veterans. We have a show for authors. So if you're an author, we have a show coming up with all authors. I think we can have up to 20. I think we'll put it on there. So if you're an author, so it's just so many different things. We're going to be talking with anyone wanting to get into politics. We probably need some people to get into politics. Okay, so we're recruiting. So we're gonna have someone talk to us about that. Every industry you think of it, we're gonna have somebody on here. And so put in a chat if there's a subject matter that you would like more information about. Please let us know. Let us know what people want to learn. We want to bring you what you want to see. And so that's kind of. I know I'm supposed to be talking about myself, and I didn't, but that makes me happy talking about the foundation. I'm Candy Martin. I'm the owner of Martin Business Solution LLC. We offer financial and business services to small business as well as personal. So if you want to learn how to budget for yourself or budget for your business, we can assist you in that. Tax preparation, payroll, all the finance stuff, we got you covered. And I do pride myself on offering quality service. I know that I can't save the world and make everybody happy, but I will do my very best to do the best that I can. And so I just want everybody to tune in, get registered, and just stay in touch with us. We'll be back here next Wednesday at 11 Central Time. And when I'm going to ask everybody to, once you get off, go onto our YouTube channel. Make sure you like, subscribe, share. We use the YouTube channel. Once you get to a certain number of subscriptions, that you're able to monetize, and all the proceeds that we earn from that will go into our youth business portion. So all the youth that have a business, we're going to help them with their websites, their cards, and things of that nature. So in order for us to do that, we do need donations, and this is one avenue for us to do it. So if you're not able to give a monetary donation, we're asking that you at least go and like the YouTube channel, subscribe, go on the website, leave us comments, click within the website, things of that nature help generate traffic to the foundation. If you want more information about it, if you want to become a Women in Business member, a VIP member, it's $10 a month, and I can send you the enrollment form on that. We are welcome. We want to have everybody that we can, but we also know that we're not for everybody. But those that we are for, we're here to receive you. So I want to thank our panelists, Miss Faith and Miss Ida Mae. I appreciate you all. Miss Ida is chilling on her back porch, and then we got Faith down there in Florida with all the sunshine and the beach and the sand in her toes. I mean, but that's okay. That's okay. I'm happy for you guys.
You have to come visit.
Huh?
You have to come visit.
I sure will, but not right now. I mean, I'm not coming right now.
yeah, you can't come now.
So Miss Ida, before we get off, how are the kids doing? Your daughter plays the violin, right?
She plays the violin. I have a son, my second son. He plays the upright bass and the electric bass. And then my oldest, he plays the bassoon and the saxophone. My two boys are going to Loyola, And my daughter, she's still at Lusher. She's in the 10th grade, but they're
Oh,
doing really well. I see
that's
pictures of James all the time.
yes, yeah, and yeah, so yeah, James is he's in California where the other beaches
I,
are. So
I saw that. Yeah.
so, so I appreciate you all coming on today, and I just can't thank you guys enough. We have learned so much, and I hate to even end it. It's like I know I want to talk some more, so we're gonna have to definitely keep connected. And I thank all my viewers, the listeners that tuned in. Thank you for taking time out of your day, especially in the middle of the day, to see what we're talking about here on Ask the Expert. So
Thank
until the
you.
next time,
Welcome.
you guys, thank
Bye
you. You
bye.
guys have a great day.
Bye
Bye bye.
bye.
Bye bye.